military action was taken from the United States over the weekend. They bombed 3 sites, and Trump put it on Truth Social. And it was crazy because Van Jones actually, I mean, not
Lathan.
Van Jones,
Van Lathan.
Van Lathan.
Yeah.
Van Lathan
Called it.
was on a Blackout
He
last Wednesday.
predicted it.
That's why you should always watch Blackout. And he actually predicted it perfectly. He said either Friday or Saturday. It happened on Saturday. He said that there was some military Iranian military bases that actually was enriching nuclear enhancements that couldn't be touched by Israel because they didn't have the technology to blow up the mountains. So he kind of laid it all out. The 30,000 pound bomb that needed to be dropped, and only America had that. So
the B-2 flyers.
He said that was done. Okay, now this is interesting. We're going to talk about how this affected the stock market, because the stock market is actually not phased as of yet.
As predicted.
But there's a lot of different thoughts on this from a standpoint of Trump. You know, he announced 3 days prior to that we now totally have full control over the Iranian airspace. So and Iran came out with a statement saying that they moved all of the nuclear stuff out of the bases before it got hit. So now you got one. America's going with the narrative that they completely destroyed the Iranian's nuclear facilities and it's over. Iran is saying that they moved everything. Now, what's interesting is that he said that we have full control over the Iranian skies 3 days before they actually bombed it. Okay. Now, if you were a criminal, let's just say, right, and you were casing somebody's house and you was about to rob their house, would you put on Twitter that you have full control over their ring system?
Probably not.
Because if you did do that, like if you knew you're in danger, right, what do? You move your valuables out of your house, right? So some people there's some conspiracies that maybe this was a back channel diplomacy with Iran to kind of give them the heads up. So it's forward facing that, okay, we looked, we did this, Israel, you got what you want, but we're still in diplomatic talks with Iran, and this is kind of their way out. And some people just saying like, no, Trump is just wild. He just announced it because he's just impulsive, and then 3 days later just dropped the bomb. But it's interesting that he would say that, because I don't think that would make a lot of sense to declare something like that and then strike 3 days later, because it is essentially giving them the heads up that you're going to do something if you got full control of their skies. So before we go into the stock part of it, what do we make of this?
I think if I was trying to please my allies and then in turn not cause a World War III scenario, maybe I'll give you a little heads up to move some of the assets that you have, because we're not prepared to go to World War III. I don't think we have to be conspiratorial around this. I think we know if he wants to go into attack, he will fully. I think this is one of the cases where he had to do what he had to do to please Israel and at the same time show a strong front. But I don't think, given this term and all the turmoil that's happening in the country and everything that's happening with the BRICS, that he wants to have this war ignited with Iran. But what do you think? I just know if I was going to go bomb an enemy and I got the location, I wouldn't text their cousin 3 days before, hey, I'm on the way to 223 Main Street.
We got the drop on you.
Yeah. It's interesting. Even like post the actual bombs being dropped, it was all right. Now it's a time for peace. It's like, how do you decide that? Now you've bombed a site and they're like, we're not at war. We just want to get rid of the nuclear threat. And the fact that you're saying, all right, hey, let's talk about peace now, after you've now destroyed, obviously, or allegedly destroyed their technology.
Talk about peace.
Yeah, let's figure this. Let's talk about it now.
I mean, that's street rules, though. That's like you knock somebody out because you don't want to kill them, and then just say like, "Yo, I did that out of love. It could have been worse. I didn't want to shoot you. I didn't want to stab you. I'm gonna put you down, hold your hands. I'm gonna hold your hands. I'm gonna strain you, and let's talk it out. Let's figure it out now."
There's Debo rules.
And
So,
after Van said that on Blackout 2, I got 3 or 4 texts from some people in the military who may have alluded to this won't be our last time in Iran, and this wasn't the final strike. So, like, if Van knew last Wednesday,
right. All signs pointed to it that there is no turning back. From a retaliatory standpoint, now what? Right? Obviously, Iran has now continued to fire missiles at Israel. Now what? What do we walk ourselves into?
A sleeper cell attack, and this is
Absolutely.
why they have high alerts on New York City and major New York cities. But
Chicago,
I mean, this is technically how terrorism starts, right? So this actually comes from Art of War. If you read the book, guerrilla warfare is pretty much terrorism, right? When you're fighting an opponent that you can't actually beat with army, then you have to resort to other tactics. So you do things like blow up a train station, right? Like that's the alert. That's why they. So if you're wondering why, like, okay, New York City is at high alert right now because they're saying, okay, even if it doesn't come directly from the government of Iran, it could be somebody that sympathizes with them, right? Like, but you can't. There's nothing that they can do to fight Israel or fight America, but they can do other things to kind of disrupt day-to-day life, which makes things uncomfortable for civilians, which push pressure on the government. Even like we'll talk about the seas, shutting down sea routes, hijacking ships. These are things that it's just like it's annoyance. But you do enough of it that causes a major disruption, right? It's not like you're not going to be able to, have a full-fledged military attack, but you do pop-up type attacks. That's what that's what comes next potentially, because that's the only way. That's the only way to actually respond, or like hack, computer hacks and different things of that nature.
Those are the signs. And Netflix did a documentary on the history of Bin Laden and Taliban. Literally, like what you just laid out is exactly what happened. Until it was obviously we saw what happened in 9/11. It was attacks on embassies. It was attacks on the water, right? U.S. Naval ships being attacked. Right. And until a major event happened. And you think about it from the standpoint of the US government, how does that look internally? Right. Because this is a different age when we couldn't see everything that was happening. Obviously, with social media, you talked about sympathizing and empathizing with people of Iran. A lot of people here are looking at like, why did this happen? What did we get ourselves into? The vice president was even on record saying, like, I didn't know this was about to happen. Right. AOC is calling for impeachment. What do you think it stands from the internal view of what's happening in this, I guess, quote unquote, early conflict?
I mean, they knew. There's no way that JD Vance doesn't know what's going to happen.
Which brings me to my point. Where is the checks and balances on the defense tech regime? On June 13th, 4 senior executives from Palantir, Meta, OpenAI have been appointed as lieutenant colonels in the U.S. Army after the creation of a special unit. So if Peter Thiel backed JD Vance, owns Palantir, Zuckerberg breaks his war with Palmer at Anduril, now Meta's in the defense tech business, it seems like a lot of the tech bro billionaires have pushed him into wars. And even going back to the Saudi meeting, it was interesting seeing who was there and who was not there. Where is the checks and balances on who is advising him to go into these wars, and if it is being done solely for profit?